I'm with Dr. John Patrick. John Patrick has written a book called Net Attitude, which he wrote quite a while ago. We've talked before about health attitude. He's about all things attitude. He's a technologist. Full disclosure, he's on my board at OCLC, and he was vice president of internet technology at IBM, ran an innovation lab for many, many years. He's on more boards than you can think of, and he's always on the radio or on something talking about attitude or even health attitude. We're going to go back to your first book, which you've now updated and kind of did a look back called Net Attitude. For those people who don't know, what is net attitude? What is it?
Net attitude, it's a state of mind. It's thinking about customers. It's thinking about the web and how it works and how easy it can be and should be. It's thinking like the grassroots of the cultural background of the internet. It's one of those things, it reminds me of back in the 60s when the Supreme Court was hearing arguments about obscenity. And Justice Potter Stewart said, obscenity, said, I can't define it, but I know it when I see it. Well, that's net attitude. It's a little hard to define, but when you see the lack of it or the presence of it, you'll know.
You know, and you're going to give us some examples. What if you're in an organization that you say has net attitude? What are some of the advantages? If you have net attitude, why does that really matter? What are the advantages of it?
Well, it's very simple. It makes your constituents happy, whether they're customers or employees or vendors or business partners or investors. They're happy because what you display through your electronic presence is real, and it works, and it makes sense. And after all, a website really is your brand. Your brand isn't the Coca-Cola image or the IBM 8-bar logo, it's that homepage. That reflects your brand, and if you don't have a net attitude, it comes through.
Comes through loud and clear. Well, you talk about some organizations or some places where you don't have a net attitude. And one of those that you say is the classic example is the call center.
The call center.
Give me an example. What would that be like if you call a call center and they have a bad net attitude?
Well, let me contrast it first with one that has a good net attitude. So if you have an issue with Amazon, which is pretty infrequent, but occasionally you may have an issue and you want to talk to somebody. So you go to their support page and you click, I want to talk to somebody. And the page comes up and it says, do you want to call us or do you want us to call you? Oh, click, call me. Okay, well, this is the number we have on record for you. Is that the right number? Click yes, and the phone rings. You pick up the phone, hello, this is Amazon, how can we help you? That's net attitude. Now contrast that with the 99% of the rest of the call centers. Welcome to ABC Corporation. Press 1 for English, 2 for Spanish. Please pay attention because all of our menus have recently changed. How can it be that every company in the world, their menus recently changed? Press 1 for sales, 2 for support, 3 for this, 4 for that. Well, geez, I just want to change my zip code. It just changed. Press 5 for this, press 6 for that. I want to talk to somebody. I don't really want to talk to somebody, but I don't know what else to do. 0. You have pressed an invalid key.
I just had that happen.
I just had this the other day. I had one with a 9. I'll try that. 9. Thanks for calling. Goodbye. Or they say, please enter your 16-digit account number. You enter your 16-digit account number. Mary comes on the line. Hi, this is Mary. How can I help you? Oh, I need to change my zip code. Oh, well, what's your account number?
I just
entered it. Oh, well, it didn't come up. That happens with 99% of companies. So that's the lack of net attitude.
Well, is it funding? I mean, if you have the investments, so some people might say, well, Amazon has all the money, so they can do that fancy technology and call you. But if I'm just a small mom and pop, can I have a net attitude?
Absolutely. Amazon started with nothing. They didn't start selling the hundreds of billions of dollars of things. They started with a handful of books.
But they had a net attitude.
Jeff Bezos had the attitude. He's not a techie. He came from the consumer world. And his approach was, we're going to make the customers happy. We're going to sell books. And so it's not funding. It's absolutely not funding. It's
Anybody
attitude.
Can have it.
In fact, if you have attitude, net attitude, your financial picture is better. You're going to have more happy customers.
Interesting. I'm a student of words and the power of words, and it seems like words really, really matter, far more than we think. One of the things you talk about in this book is business vocabulary.
Right.
What needs to change? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, there's so many examples of that. The web is global. So a typical website will say, click here for the location of our nearest dealers. when that's not what you want. You're trying to buy something. And then it'll say, well, please call us 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, EST. Is that Estonia? I mean, what is EST? Don't they, this is a global thing. Or, sorry, we're down for maintenance. They think it's okay to be down for maintenance at 3 a.m., but it's 3 p.m. in Tokyo where you have customers. So let me give you the one that's really the classic in terms of vocabulary. The secret question. Pick your secret question.
Yes.
Okay. So I went to a website, secret question, what's the name of your first employer? I put in IBM. It comes back and it says, you have entered an invalid entry. Must be 5 characters. So you can't work for IBM, GE, NBC, CBS, CNN, OCLC.
Wow.
Right? Got to be 5 characters. Okay, I'll try a different question. What's your favorite color? Well, IBM, blue. You have entered an invalid entry. Can't use blue, pink, gray, red.
Has to be 5.
Got to be 5 or more.
Wow.
Right? So they're not thinking, right? What are they thinking? They're not. It's amazing.
Well, what do corporate leaders need to do if they want to create a culture of net attitude throughout the whole organization? Because people might have it, but how do you just infect people with that same attitude?
Well, a couple of thoughts there. One is when you see it, you'll know it. And when you see somebody that has it, recognize them in front of everybody else. Make them a hero, right? A second idea, this seems so simple, but as the CEO of an organization, use the website. See if it works. Do a search. See if it does the things it's supposed to do. See if it's easy to use. Big companies, AT&T, Verizon, Comcast, just to pick a few at random. I'm certain their CEO has never used their website. If they did, they would not be happy.
One CEO I interviewed once said, stand in your own lines.
There you go.
Same type of thing. You're one of the web's pioneers. You wrote this book really almost 15 years ago, and now it's out with a new version. Tell us a little bit about that, how the journey, the first version, and why you decided to update it. Have things changed or not changed in terms of net attitude, in your view, company-wide?
Back at the beginning, I said that we're seeing about 2% of the potential of the internet. We're 2% of the way there. In other words, of all the things that could be done on the web that would make us happy, would simplify our lives, would make things better, we're only seeing 2%. That's what I said in 2001.
What is it now?
15 years later, I'd say it's 10 to 15%. So we've come a long way, but it's still only 10 to 15%. So I saw these things way back, and I couldn't believe how there was such variation among websites. There were some that got it, some that didn't get it. So I decided 15 years later, we need this more than ever. Amazon's running away with it in the retail space. And in every segment, there are big differences between, whether it's banking or airlines or communications. There's some that really get it, and they're going to run away with it. So I thought, let's give everybody a chance to read this again and see if there's something in there that could help them.
New chance for a new attitude.
Absolutely.
Well, attitude is a theme of yours. It's the title of your business, your firm. It is the book that you first started with, Net Attitude, but you also have Health Attitude, and we've talked about that. Talk about attitude. What is that all about?
Well, attitude is everything. It helps you decide what you want to be, where you want to go, what you want to do, what vision you're going to set out for your organization. You can't just write it down on a piece of paper and expect it to get executed. You have to have an attitude that is pervasive among the people that you work with, so that they can share the enthusiasm that you have, and so they can become part of it and make things happen. I think of that as attitude. And
it's not over, right? Health attitude, home attitude, what else is coming?
Yeah, there's some things in common about attitude, as we just discussed. And so health attitude, net attitude. Right now I'm working on one called election attitude.
Oh, the time too.
About electronic voting.
Okay.
A very complex area, and nobody has really done that very well so far. And is there a lack of vision, or is it a technical problem? I think it's probably an attitude problem as I'm researching it. Home attitude, that's going to be about home automation, my favorite hobby. And then robot attitude. Robots are taking a larger and larger role in our life, especially in home healthcare, in addition to manufacturing, and Amazon using thousands of them to deliver goods. Robots are going to be really important in the future.
So you see the drones everywhere at CES. It's amazing. But if you think about all of these things with attitude, I think of election attitude. I think the election officials need to read net attitudes, right? Because it can be very difficult.
Well, that's a really interesting point. I just read a book, thanks to you for telling me about it, about voting. And the major problems have been user experience. You know, voters looking at the page and not knowing what to vote for or not knowing how to vote. It was too complicated, burdensome to use. Yeah, that's a
the
lack
same
of
thing. It's
attitude.
right. Yeah, they don't have it right. Well, Dr. John Patrick, he tackles small problems, elections, the healthcare industry, the entire internet. I think that you will be busy for a while talking about attitude. Thank you for talking to us today about net attitude.
Okay, thanks, Skip.